It's the World Pokemon League, #1 draft league you could ever see. Getting stronger, yeah, I'm building up my own team. Gotta be the champion, the one you can't defeat. It's the World Pokemon League, #1 draft league you could ever see. Getting stronger, yeah, I'm building up my own team. Gotta be the champion, the one you gotta beat.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Jay with Jay, Jingles, and Tevis here, bringing you guys another episode of the Jason and Jason podcast.
Hey Jay.
Jay. Hey Jay.
Hey Jay.
What?
Guess what?
What's happening right now?
Guess what? I won.
If you say chicken
I
butt,
won.
I'm gonna lose it.
I won. I won this week, right?
Okay, that's
right?
worse.
Did I win? I won, right?
Well,
USA.
we actually did not promote this as USA versus Canada, but
we're gonna take it that way.
Once again, the US is now triumphant over the Canadians.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I am one to enjoy a little bit of trash talk and a little bit of back and forth. There wasn't a whole lot of forth. There was more so just back.
You getting backed into a corner is what it was.
It wasn't a great matchup for me. I feel like things could have gone better. Just in case anybody doesn't know, in case someone is not in the league, just in case people don't know.
Why are you watching this?
There was, first of all,
what are you doing?
Applications don't exist, so if you're looking for one, there isn't one. So no, but there's a little bit of trash talking before because me and Jay were playing each other. The two hosts of this podcast were playing each other last week, and
it was a fantastic game. Fantastic game
for one of us.
That's what I said. Fantastic game.
Jason, did I stutter? I said fantastic. Well, okay. So what happened? Well, do we need to really get in anything else? I don't know. Nothing really happened other than the matches. And everybody just wants to hear the recaps.
I'm perfectly fine with spending our whole hour and a half talking about our match if you want to. I mean, that sounds good to me. As people complain about the length of our podcast,
and you're one of them, and this is definitely one of those podcasts that you're just like, yeah, we should do a longer one today.
Yeah, just really break down that first game.
So you know what? Screw it. Let's just dive in. Let me hear it. You know what? I'm leaving. I'm leaving. You can do
take over.
You take over. You got it.
Yeah.
You're
so
good at
our first match of the week was Cascade Illusions versus the Toronto Six, and
that one horse team.
One team showed up this week, and I think we both know which one it was.
This is a little rough, but okay. We didn't get biggest beatdown, so it wasn't that bad.
Well, I had a problem with that, but whatever. I'm not salty. Whatever. It's not like it was a 4-0 and the 2-0 and whatever.
I think people should watch replays.
No, but I mean, I mentioned that first game was a 4-0. We were talking right before here, and neither one of us realized it was until like the last turn.
Yeah, I gave myself a big oof at the end of that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, 4-0? I didn't KO anything? I'm like, oof.
Yeah, well, I mean, it went like 7 or 8 turns, which I feel like most 4-0s. Was it 9? Jeez. It just flew by. I mean, I
survived 9 turns against you. I think that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, Rhyperior just kind of ran through your team once it was able to get going.
You know what? That is true. But you know how they say in baseball, a bloop and a blast. I was a bloop and a blast from taking that game in game 1. None of it really went well game 1, but I think like looking back, if I made a couple of different decisions, I think it goes completely different.
Oh yeah, and I mean, one of the reasons why I was surprised with 4-0 is I got really nervous. I hard read a fake out from your Berserker, and I switched in Rhyperior, and you max quaked into that slot, and I was like,
it was supposed to be a Steel Spike.
Oh, well, it was Electivire that was in, so it made a little bit of sense to to come in with the ground move instead of
And
the
that was
steel
the.
move.
It's funny because I think that was actually the deciding move in I think it was like turn 3 or something. It was a deciding move in the match because by the way, everybody, we were planning on having like a nice recording because me and Jay actually recorded each other privately playing the match. So we're actually gonna have live commentary and back and forth that I'm currently editing. I just didn't get it in time. It takes a lot longer than I thought. But we will have it. And one of the things that was said is I actually was going to steel spike that slot, but I forget what the decision was. I'm just like, you know what? I think what I need to do, I was not expecting. I think it was like, if I attack this slot, I get the +1. The Rhyperior can't do as much damage, and I'm like, but if he ally switches or something or whatever, I forget
You were
what the decision was.
you were really worried about the ally switch,
From
and
Trevenant.
you didn't want to ground move there, but then you were like, well, if I max Quake and Shadow Claw that spot, that covers for it.
And it gives me the +1 Spadef against your flamethrower. I think that's actually what the decision was. And then you hard switch, and I was like yelling at the screen. I was like, "Why did I not steel spike?" Because I don't even think you had the mega at the point. Did you? Did you mega at that point?
I did. I volt switched out earlier, and Mega first.
Okay, yeah, because you volt switched into the into that friggin' Rhyperior.
Meowstic. No, it was the red card Meowstic. Oh no, because remember it was red card, and it brought in my Electivire instead of the Rhyperior, which was annoying.
So much happened. I think people just need to watch it. I watched it a couple of times because, well, not to mention I was doing the editing as well of what we were talking about just now, and yeah, a lot of. By the way, what did you think of that red card Meowstic?
I was.
Wasn't it interesting?
Yeah, it was. The thing with red card is that it always. Like, you never expect it, which is why it's so good. Like, I think I've only come across like 2 red cards in this league. You know,
you're welcome. Well, it obviously didn't lead to a win, so.
Well, in this part, and it didn't even necessarily come out big because I think you had the red card to switch out like a Dynamax or something like that.
No, it doesn't work against red Dynamax, but it was more so just to be problematic for a fake out. It got Salazzle off the field. So I think that's what it was.
And since I was already planning on switching with the Volt Switch anyway, like, yeah, I didn't go into the right Pokemon, but, like, it wasn't the end of the world for me because I was already planning on switching. Yeah.
Exactly. When I saw, it's funny because I actually, when it switched in, I'm like, I actually had to go into the comments of the match just to kind of see what happened. I actually, when I was listening to my recording of what my reaction literally was, did he choose that Electivire to come in there or did he not? And I actually, and it's interesting because I was like, wait, it said it was dragged out. He very well might not want that on the field because I'm like,
right.
If you want it on the field and you chose it, it's like, well, maybe he has a coverage move that I don't know about or something I need to be afraid of. I'm like, yeah, I don't think he wants this on the field right now. So didn't
which was accurate.
Lead to so much happened that game, man. Like it's so hard to like look back and be like, what happened? Game 1 was just really close, but it really wasn't.
I don't
know how else to put it.
It was on the cusp of being close, but ended up not being close.
No, not at all. Like we both were just like, this is a 4-0? Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Oof. Well, congratulations on your tiebreaker. I was just like, well, at least he got a tiebreaker. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Game 2, however, I kind of got bailed out a little bit. I have to admit that happens.
Yes
sometimes.
And no. Yes and no. Like I think
the game. Yeah. I think I definitely would have had. We don't know, but I think I would have had you in a game 3 anyway, because I had a different lead that I really liked as well. But the para make off the discharge, making it so your bulldoze to weakness policy proc went after the attack.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
Pivotal. It basically just let me save my Manectric for late game, and it came in clutch late game.
It did. Yeah, the intimidates were nice, and also I think something about like lightning rod being up, and I'm like, I can't do something. It was a T wave, I think it was. I wanted to do, and I couldn't. A little later in the match, but I think you only actually had one Pokemon I could have T-waved anyway, and I think I did T-wave it, so maybe it didn't have an effect.
Yeah.
So I don't really remember the match. I actually know everything about everybody else's matches, more so about ours. I thought that Obstagoon was going to be more of a factor. Oh, actually, by
I
the way, I was asked a question. Late in the game, Obstagoon came in with a fresh turn, and a friend of mine was watching the match and goes, "Why did you parting shot? Why did you parting shot?" And the reason was, I was going to lose anyway at that point,
yeah,
and I didn't want you to know any other moves other than the one I already used.
that's
So
fair.
I accepted. So technically, I probably could have gotten a KO, but I figured if I was going to pull it, yeah, actually, we should probably look back at that because I had throat chop on that thing.
Yeah,
The
but I
one,
also was like, I just was able to cycle in some mons that were at full health still. It would have been interesting. I think you might have been able to get a KO somewhere in there, but
so I helped you with your 4-0.
thanks. Appreciate
No,
that.
I think it's because I used parting shot for like 2 or 3 turns. It was just like
Yeah,
parting shot, nothing. Parting shot, nothing. I'm like, and I was yelling. I'm like, yo, just kill me, dude.
yeah.
Just kill me.
Yes,
But
yes.
no, but that was a fun match. I really enjoyed prepping against you, and I really enjoyed playing it. And I actually wasn't upset after I lost because you built a team to stop Primarina, and I couldn't even bring it.
Yeah, that was my strategy. My strategy was uh, Rhyperior runs through your team except for Primarina, so I'm going to bring Rhyperior and 5 Pokemon that Primarina does not want to see,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
it successfully scared you away from using it. Which
Yeah,
it's
high
funny.
risk, high
It's funny
reward.
if you listen to my commentary, like all through the entire match, every time you brought in a Pokemon, I'm like, is
Better not
Primarina
be
coming?
Prim.
Is Primarina
Yeah.
coming? Like I remember I was listening back to it, and I think it was in game one. Yeah, it was you parting shot it with Obstagoon, and I had Manectric and Electivire on the field, and I was like, "Is he bringing Primarina right here?"
And I
And I
think
was
you
like, "Wait,
said
no, this
no,
is
he doesn't.
it's
That
like
would
this
be
is
silly.
stupid. Like, why would he bring it in with my 2 electric types out of here?" Uh,
If
but
anything,
yeah,
electric attacking that slot would have been it would have covered the switch, and also you go for broke. Like you honestly, if you see an obstacle, you use a fighting attack. It's as simple as
which is what I
that.
did. Yeah, yeah,
Unless it's next to an ally switch and ghost, but that's a whole nother thing.
yeah.
But no, that was a fun match. You bested me, but hopefully I get to play again next season,
Or even in
and
the
yeah,
playoffs.
or
I
the
mean,
playoffs. Let's see how it goes. We're both 2-1, so actually you leapfrogged me
I
because
mean,
you destroyed my kill death in that 4-0.
every everybody's 2-1 right now. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Apparently everybody's 2-1. 9 teams out of the 16 are 2-1.
Yeah, which is just absurd. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
actually nuts. Like we had a couple of points about yeah, like well, I guess we can go over them after. Yeah, we did have a quick standings update. Yeah, we'll get there later. Slow down, Jay. Slow down. Um, yeah, so I
yeah.
guess
So should
so
we?
that's us. Let's move on to the next match. Texas versus Great Marsh. Talking about a game that went really, really long. Quite the opposite happened. This match was over in a heartbeat. I
Yeah,
felt This
yeah.
game was over very quickly.
I think this game felt like it might have been over before the game started. I think Great Marsh had a strategy, and Texas just had what it took to shut down that
Well, I can
strategy.
tell you what it was. It was get up trick room, and he just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
But when his team is hard trick room, it's kind of hard not to win without trick room when somebody has such a good fast mode. Like Texas, Texas just has like so much offense on his team. You know what I mean? Mega Alakazam Lele is already insane. Not to mention Kartana in the back, and then Scrafty can be used as support or offense as well. So in Galvantula, I'm actually surprised he got rid of it. He dropped it this after the match was over. So no, he traded it, but we'll get into
Traded
that after. Yeah, his plan all along was okay. You've led Slowbro every single week, which it seems like he has. It's done well, but hey, when you have an electric Pokemon, it's kind of hard to not die. I don't know
yeah,
how else to put it.
yeah.
But I
There
guess
isn't
it's a
really
D
much else to say
tier.
there.
I guess you can't really prep super hard against the D tiers. You kind of have to just have like options against them. But yeah, that Galvantula put in work. It died immediately, but it definitely did its job. It did like 70% health on that first Electro one.
First.
It might have been even specs too, based on how much damage it did. Holy crap!
That's possible. I didn't actually think about that, but
It wasn't
yeah,
revealed, but if we did a quick calc, I bet it would. But yeah, that was a crazy amount of damage. But he got rid of it, so nobody has to prep against it, including me. So,
hooray!
yay! Thank you for dropping that thing, by the way. That thing's a big pain. No, Great Marsh. You know what's funny? I went actually and wrote down all the moves and stuff like that, and all the items and all the abilities, and there weren't many. The game was over so fast.
It was
Like,
yeah.
I got
Their
two
both
moves
their
on
whole match.
Startland.
Their whole match lasted the same number of turns as my 4-0 against you. Just
Probably, yeah. That match was pretty long, but yeah, 4-0. Sorry, 3 turns and 4 turns. Yeah, 4 turns and 5 turns. Sorry, 4 turns and 5 turns.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was nuts, man. So what happened? Lele is just an absolute beast. With the life orb, like it's already strong enough as it is. It sets its terrain to give it the 50% boost on its stab attacks. And you give it a life orb. It just stack upon stack upon stack.
And psychic fairy is a really good type.
Fairy anything is good.
They cover each other. Well, that's true. Yeah, fairy mixed with anything. Because actually, I'd say psychic generally isn't a super good type, but fairy, resists 2 of the psychic's weaknesses.
Yeah,
it's really only weak to what, steel and ghost. I want to say.
Yeah, I think one more. I was looking it up earlier this week because I'm prepping against him. I think there's one more. I just don't remember what it is.
Yeah, it hits hard, and then just setting up the terrain for your
poison. Poison. Steel, ghost, and poison.
Yeah, but I mean, you hit the poison right back, So, I mean, yeah, you're weak to it, but you get.
Yeah.
You're not. It's not a total lose matchup,
Only if Pokemon didn't get. Only if Pokemon got moves that weren't the same type as them, Jay.
Right.
It's a world I want to live in. So game 2, game 1, it was just over so fast. Like Gigalith did get the policy off. I feel that game was lost on the switch-in. I don't know if there was much else he could do. He probably did it just as like a high risk, high reward kind of thing. Because when you look at the table, like the 2 leads, and you look at them, you're like, wow, this is not looking good for me. That Galvantula is not what I wanted to see as a lead. Let me try to get Trick 'em up. It didn't. Turn 2, it's like, okay, well, I guess I can try to get the Gigalith in, and and then he just couldn't do it. So there just wasn't anything he could really do, right? Like you can lose a game in a lead. You can.
Yeah, and it was clear that the team that Texas brought was just so set up for what Great Marsh was planning on doing that
it's good prep.
Even in game 2, it's not like Great Marsh had something to pivot to. Like Texas had it covered,
Yeah, he had a really good draft. It was actually your pick for best roster before the season started. So yeah, it's definitely doing well. He's 2-1 right now after the win. Great Marsh 1-2. I'm not too worried about Great Marsh. He's made the playoffs every single season, so I would predict him to make it anyway. 1-2 doesn't mean you're out by any stretch. So it's a long season still, and yeah, there was one support move used on either side. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just bang,
that just
bang,
shows
bang.
you how fast. Yeah, it just shows you how often, how aggressive team that especially Texas was. He just came out swinging and just didn't give Great Marsh a chance to do anything. And support moves on either side, just like, nope, I don't need him. Well, I'm just gonna come out and basically punch you in the mouth, and that's what he did.
Well, I'd hate to be the guy that has to face him in week 4, but wait, that's me.
That guy's on the road. Oh,
I forgot.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll bounce back next season or next game. I'll bounce back.
It's a good thing it's been a while since you've lost.
It's been for. Hey, wait a second! I lost just recently.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. How could I forget?
Speaking of Ireland,
was that losing recently? Like
my segues need work. Let's just say that. Speaking of Ireland, Dublin, Ireland is the team. Oh, he's not from Dublin anyway. Dublin Delmise versus the city of Kyogre Canucks.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
Roll that back.
Let's roll that back. Hey, future Jay, edit that out. Or don't for effect. It works. Kyogre Canucks versus Dublin Delmise. Yeah, Dublin Delmise. I feel like every once in a while we get a Dublin Delmise that you're just like, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't in that match.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, like I just feel like Kyogre just wasn't able to get his game plan going. I feel like he had a strategy. He preps really well. He has like a lot of really good ideas for his match. His leads are usually excellent. I just feel like Dublin just, I think he would have beaten anybody this week, like based on how well he played.
Well, the interesting thing too, with especially that game one, is that actually Kyogre looked like he was in prime position at the lead. Milotic got a competitive boost and
Yeah.
wiped out that Incineroar early, and like things were working. Honestly, I think the big factor in this one was Porygon 2 with Ice Beam. Like, it's not something you'd really necessarily think of, but Kyogre had brought Landorus and Salamence and
Yeah.
Gourgeist two
Yep.
4 times a week and one, just super effective against.
Single
Um,
time week.
yeah, that's right.
Come on, Jay. Use proper terminology. This is a professional podcast here.
And like, I mean, I think the biggest thing was just that Dublin just got so much damage on all of Kyogre's mons. I don't think he maxed game one. I think Kyogre, that is. He just
No,
never
he
had an
didn't.
opportunity to. He was just all of his mons. I thought Milotic might one turn, but
Turn
he went
two,
for
turn one, or I think it was
damage.
turn one. I was calling it. I was just like, man, you got the +2. Just go for broke, man.
Just go
I
for
know
it. Yeah,
he ran like a recover, and I don't know we only saw recover and scald, but
right.
I still think when that's the thing about competitive, you get that one competitive boost, a support set can go to an offensive set real quick.
Really fast. Yeah, and I think his plan, and this is my guess. I think his plan was to max like Landorus late. I know
Yep.
Kyogre is somebody who well, outside of when he's running Kieran White, does like to max a little bit later, and so I think that was his game plan, and it actually ended up hurting him because Milotic got damage on it. I think he switched in something, and it just happened to get hit hard on switch in, and so he just never had after that turn one. He just never had a good opportunity to max anything that wasn't already
Mm.
weakened, and it got away from him quick after that. So
Yeah.
and not not just that Kyogre didn't do that. Like Dublin did a great job of keeping the pressure on even after a not so great start, and forcing Kyogre's hand, and it came out with a victory with it.
Yeah, I think one of the things as well is he took a gamble. I don't think he had a grass move on Gorgeist. If he did, he didn't use it. He was using Phantasm on that Mudsdale. And I know
Yeah,
going for defense drops and things like that, but he's stamina. So I think he would have used it if he had the chance, unless he was trying to avoid weakness policy. We didn't see if it was or wasn't on the Mudsdale. But at the same time, I think uh, like the Gore guys, just looking at Dublin's team, he was probably in Prison Trick Room. Phantasm was the ghost move, and the last one could have been Will-O-Wisp. The last one could have been a grass move. It could have been another support move. It could have
yeah,
been any. It could have been ally switch for all we know. But
right.
again, hey, in a situation, I actually ended up beating Dublin by going for a max with a Pokemon I actually brought for not really offense, you know. So situationally, he went for the Gourgeist max. He might not have been
Yeah,
intending it. So,
right.
um, but hey, that stacks a physical attacker, physical ghost. When you max, it just stacks and stacks and stacks because you keep getting those defense
Unless
drops. So
unless you're going into a Mudsdale that keeps getting the
unless
defense
you're
boosts
going
every time you
into a
do it as well.
Mudsdale,
So.
yeah.
Yeah, and
But
it was very close at the end too. I know Milotic. I think Mudsdale lived because it got one max Quake off. And if it
yeah,
didn't get that Quake off, Milotic would have I think killed it the turn it was done being maxed. But it lived on like 15%, 20% or something like that. Where without that special defense boost, it dies and we go to a game three, I think. So it was definitely close. It was a hard fought match, even though it was only 2 games.
yeah, it wasn't as bad as a 2-0. Like it didn't really like. I thought
It
Dublin played
wasn't.
really well. It just
Yeah,
didn't really come off as you got beaten hard or anything. It was just you just sometimes
yeah. It
don't win a
definitely
game in a
wasn't
match.
wasn't as much of a beatdown as that Cascade versus Toronto 6 game, but it was definitely a lot closer than that.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes people get really lucky in their matches as well, such as the Cascade versus Jay. No, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, you know what? I think Dublin's just a really good player, and I think maybe it just takes. He has a little bit of a slow start sometimes to his seasons, and
Yeah.
I don't think
Well,
that's
I'm
the case
sitting at
because he
two and
won week
one,
one.
so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you know what? I just again, I don't like playing him. I thought I was going to lose the week I won. I think he could have easily beat me, and it just didn't go that way. So I definitely have a lot of respect for him. So, and his playing and how he plays.
Yeah, no kidding.
So speaking of the city of Cyanwood,
Jeez.
I'm gonna try that for every match.
Speaking of grass ghost types,
speaking of
Spider
going to
Phantom
space.
Troop.
Speaking of SpaceX, bringing you the space. No, Cyanwood Cyndaquils versus the Octos, the Spider Phantom Troop. This actually was a lot closer. I think he kind of threw Octo for a loop.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was it went to a game 3. It was very, very well played by Cyanwood. I think both in game 1 and game 2. The game 1 did end up going to Octo, but it was close. I think it was a 1-0 victory. And then Cyanwood came back out and beat him game 2. So props to
that
Cyanwood
one was really
on that
close.
one.
Yeah. That was really close, yeah. Again, talking about the offense, right? Mawile, Barraskewda, Gyarados. Mr. Rhyme, I think, is sneaky strong.
Right.
Like I really do. I think people see it as like this fake outer,
like icy wind support, like
it's 110 or I think it's 115 or something like that on the special attack. I actually forget.
Well, it's fast too. It's a lot faster than I think a lot of people.
70. It's not. It's like mid tier. I think you're thinking of Mr. Mime. Yeah, Mr. Rhyme's 70.
Yeah, I must be. Maybe I'm thinking of Jinx. I hate that thing. I hate both of them, so that's probably why.
You hate all ice types.
No, just creepy ones from Gen 1. That's all.
And horses. Yes.
Wait, what?
By the way, you missed my reference for that one horse team that you faced. Yeah, Jay versus Jay. That one horse team.
Did you say that? Because I totally wasn't.
I did. Go back and listen to it after it's over. It's no one laughed. And when I say no one, I mean just you, because I was laughing in my head.
Was I too busy chanting USA, USA?
Probably. You don't win very much, so it must have felt really good winning, doesn't it? Well, I got one, boys.
Well, you know.
When was the last time you were champion?
So long ago.
Seems like forever. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this match. Cottony got another KO. That nature power strat was really cool. Prankster nature power, by the way. Nature power actually, based on the terrain, turns into the move. It's not like terrain pulse just doubles, and weather ball it doubles and turns into the right type. Nature power actually turns into a specific move. So what's it called? The Misty Terrain, it turns into Moonblast, which is a 95 base power move. It's actually a really unique move, nature power. Electric Terrain, I believe it turns into
Thunderbolt, I believe.
Is it T-Bolt? I could be wrong. I bet Octo's yelling at the screen right now. But it actually KO'd the Pelipper. I thought that was really neat. 4 times weak against it. Cottony's only got 40 special attack base, but I think it's more than enough to KO a 40% health Pelipper.
Pelipper, yeah.
But
you're not expecting an attack like that coming off Cottony either.
Well, when he used it, he had already used it once or twice or something like that. So
I'm just saying, in general, you're it's not something you really prep against. You're Cottony, it could do, it might do some chip damage here and there, but it might leech seed me, but it's not going to actually, hit me hard, and all of a sudden a T-Bolt comes off of a Cottony, and you're oh, wow, okay, hold on.
Oh, dude, I showed you this before, but I ran the sickest Blossom set I was messing around with on the ladder. People got so mad. I would skill swap Prankster onto, I think it was Blossom, and I ran Nature Power, so I had Prankster Nature Power.
Yeah.
And Prankster Sleep Powder. And Prankster Strength Sap. But you run into a dark type, you just lose.
Just lose, yeah. You just quit that one early.
It was really cool. So Nature Power is nice to see. The Sunny Day, that was obvious against the Rain Team.
Rain Team, yep.
It does 2 things. It slows down the Barraskewda, not like it really needs to be slowed down, but more so for the damage reduction on those water attacks. A, it loses the 50% boost from the rain, and B, it cuts it in half after that, giving it 50% damage. So it goes from double damage to 50%. So it's like a decrease of percent.
4 times. 4 times. It's a quarter of what it would do otherwise.
Yes, it does.
And like, it's a 50% boost in the rain, so it's a third. It's a third of what it normally does.
See, that's why I just kind of went because I didn't want to get it wrong. Jay, you're so smart. It's a good thing we have a mathmatician on this podcast. So we're so lucky. Jay, is there any other math you want to do in the WPL? No,
not yet.
Whatever the hell that segment is at the end.
Sure. There's that first match we covered today where there's a +6 kill death percentage.
Yeah. That's also how many Pokemon you bring to the match as well.
Oh yeah. There you go.
It's also the Toronto 6 as well. Illuminati.
No, continuing on with this matchup. No, game 2. I was proud to see Octo using Zoroark. It's a Pokemon that I do love. It's my mascot Pokemon.
It's not even good. It's not even good.
Sucked with it season 2.
It's horrible mascot.
No, it came in good, but Signwood did a fantastic job of switching to continue cycling the rain, and
yeah, he did. He really did.
Yeah, and Barrascuda just put in work after that. It was a little odd to not see Barrascuda max at all. He kept just using liquidation, and I mean it worked obviously, but it definitely got closer at the end than I think it should have.
Yeah, he was sweating for sure. Octo was definitely sweating. Yeah, I think Gengar was the MVP of this match. I really do. It got a lot of really nice burns. The Hex strat with the burn was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Like I do believe that Signwood played well enough to win. It's just Octo just kind of grinds you down, and a really fast burn on a very physically attacking team. Gyarados, Barrascuda, Mawile. I think they were all burned at one point. Yeah, so that's I think you just kind of get grinded down in those long matches. Octo usually comes out on top. So especially at best of 3, the more information he gets, he just uses it against you. So good for him. But 3-0. Octo ends up after the match is over, and Signwood, I believe, is 0-3. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, 0-3. You know what?
Octo is the last remaining undefeated team. Week, so.
Yeah. Well, once we get into the standings, we'll get into exactly what happened there. But yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. I'm not surprised he's 3-0, but I'm also a little surprised he's the only one left. We have a lot of really good players in this league, and yeah, so he's.
Well,
the
I think
last
that's
one
just
remaining.
it. I think this is a very competitive league nowadays, and
It's not even fun.
It's a lot more difficult. I mean, you're gonna have there's not very many matches on your schedule that you just look at and you think, okay, I think I'm going to be I think I have that advantage there because every team is good and they're gonna have something for you.
Well, yeah, this schedule, I was just like, well, I better get at least a win from this guy, or this guy, or else I'm done. Like I'm looking at like some of the better guys on the schedule, like Vitor and Dublin and things like that. And I'm just like, well, out of these, I hope I win one of those, and I'll be happy.
Right.
And we'll see how the rest of the season goes because, again, like you said, everybody's really good. So so let's go to space for a second, and let's launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida.
It's funny. I totally saw that coming when I was looking at it. I was like, hey, there's a connection there.
Because we're the two best friends that anyone could. No, Hangover, the Hangover movie.
Yeah.
Alan, he's so friggin' anyway. Really funny. Space City versus Florida. This was another one that was over fairly quickly, I feel. Like not just because it was a 2-0, but I just feel like again, Space just kind of couldn't really get going. Like he had a strategy against the Colossal strat. He had his Raikou with his Max Geyser,
Yes.
And
it was I would say just the fact that and then in that game 1 of or turn 1 of game 1 where he maxes the Colossal and then Raikou hits it right back, but Colossal lives on it was 15%. It was not much, and it was like, I bet Space was really, really thinking that was going to kill,
or hoping.
And that just allowed a second max move off of a Colossal to get off, and yeah,
Yeah, and it was probably AV because he didn't max guard in that situation. You didn't. If you don't have it, you can't use it, unfortunately. But yeah, like when you're facing a really, really high hyper offense strat like that, where you just know it's coming, you just know it, and then they lead it, and you're like, well, this is what we planned for, boys. This is what we prepped against, and he does it, and you're like, yeah, that probably, yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
he was. I have to imagine he was expecting that to kill, and when it didn't, I'm sure Space started sweating right away. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I
Space
definitely
did bring it
been
back
there.
though. Space did bring it back though.
Yeah, he definitely did. He had Tailwind up from turn one with Talonflame,
Mm-hmm.
and that actually allowed some of his mons to outspeed once that Colossal went down, and it was yeah, it was huge, and yeah, it was very close. I think really this match came down to that chip damage from Volcalith, and then Max Hail, I believe it, or Max Hailstorm from. It must have came off of Raikou.
I don't know if Raikou gets a hail move,
I
but
know. Hail
was it
was
Ice
up, I feel like, at
Punch?
one point.
Ice Punch from Metagross when it maxed probably.
Except it didn't max. I don't remember. I remember Hail came up at one point or another. Um,
Oh, Vanillix probably.
Vanillix came in. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, the Hail and the Volcalith damage really, really whittled down Space's team.
Yeah, the
I
residual
think I
damage.
think
Yeah.
I think there was a turn in there where I think Finny lives a hit. If it didn't just obliterated by, like, it was like two turns of Hail and Volcalith, and just left it right at the picking, and you know because I think it was a 1-0, it might have been 2-0 victory, but it was very, oh no, I think that one was a 2-0, but it was very, very close, and Space was,
Well, they were both
I mean,
1-0s.
if you go
They're both
if you
1-0s.
but if
Florida won 1-0 1-0.
oh, okay, but I mean, and even if you look, the one that was left, both games, it was like in the red. It was like 10% health left, and Space was just that close, and that's where I especially think that chip damage, just, if Space could have gotten one more hit off, one more attack at any point in the match, then
Yeah, you play that match 10 times, they both go 5-5.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like the chip damage. And here, by the way, fun fact, Florida had 4 passive kills and 4 direct kills. I don't think I've ever seen 4 passive kills in a match before.
No, I don't think so either. Where's Justin at? We need to get Justin looking at that.
Yeah, he didn't even mention it, so maybe that's a good thing we are.
Right. Yeah, actually, I didn't notice it was 4. I knew there was a lot, but yeah, that's insane.
And actually, it's not often you don't see Colossal, after getting policy off both games, not get an Oko. Like, it's actually kind of rare.
Yeah.
So he got 3 kills, but they were all passive. Like, it's from rocks and more rocks.
More rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun match to watch. I feel like it was over quick, but it was 1-0 1-0. Like, I kind of felt bad for the player that lost, because, when you lose that close with like 5 to 10% left on your last mon,
you're talking rolls at that point. I mean, you're talking rolls at that point.
Yeah, but I feel like when you have a strategy, you draft a strategy and it works. Hey, you drafted the strategy and it worked. It's
yes.
And we're about to talk about another one. Let's actually skip over to I do want to talk about we weren't planning on doing this, but I'm just going to move this up. Let's talk about another hyper offense lead, and we were talking about how important leads are and how you could lose a game before taking a turn. I believe so. We're talking about the Sao Paulo Excadrilles versus the Sphelavori Calcos.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun when you're 0-2 going up against a defending champ, not defending, but a previous champion, someone with a lot of pedigree in the league.
Yeah, it must suck going up against the defending champ, Jay. Tell me how that feels.
Yeah, well, wait a second. I'm talking about a different match than you are right now.
No,
I'm gonna have a counter on the screen. Future Jay, edit it every single time he mentions that match. Just put a little ticker.
Jay? What match?
The first one.
What? But which one was that?
Game of the week.
Which one are you talking?
is the game of
No.
the week. USA versus Canada. Jason versus Jason.
USA.
Champion versus deadbeat.
Championship player versus championship coach. Hey, you know what? I'll give you some props for that championship as well.
It's funny if this happened in any other league where it's just like, oh, the future champion's playing a guy that's squeaked into the playoffs once before and never before. ESPN wouldn't even put it on the TV, and it's just like, yeah, we're not putting this crap on there. And meanwhile, we're like, game of the week, everybody check it out, and everybody's like, yeah,
shut up. In fact, I don't even think anybody watched our match except for like Octo.
The diehards did. The diehard fans did. Everyone else isn't diehard. Anyway, so Vitor versus Feel, Ant-Man. Vitor versus Ant-Man. This one, I was just like, he brought the Gallade and he brought the Dragapult, and he led it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, here we go. Like, this is how you go in against a match that you think you're going to lose. You're like, well, this is my best. Let's see if he can stop it. And he couldn't. Right.
No, I mean, Sfeel had his back up against the wall. He started off 0-2 and going up against, one of the best players in the league in Vitor. And he's like, dude, I gotta come out swinging. I just got to do something. Yeah. And he did. And Vitor had no answer for it. I mean, it just.
He said he didn't prep against it, which is definitely a downfall. Like, I feel like if you see beat up on anything and a justified mon on the other side of the field, or in like the 12 that you're up against, you have to at least consider it coming. Like, he might not have had it a lot of time, or it's just so strong, right? Like, it's just, and not to mention, if you've got it and you test and be like, is there any way you can stop this? You just do it. Like,
right?
Why not? Right? It's just so strong. Getting to a +4 attack turn 1 before your first move, it's just, in a Dynamax format, it's just silly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just stupid strong.
Double the health and 4 times the attack, or I guess, 4 times the attack, and you're just like, all right.
And not to mention, a move pool like Gallade has too.
Right.
You can use it, and you can run a different Gallade every week.
Yeah, Gallade came out and it used Mindstorm, Overgrowth, and Knuckle. Like, it had something for everything that Vitor had.
Yeah, that's smart. 2 stab moves and then coverage for the Azumarill. And by the way, I was laughing because I was just like, there's the beat up. The only way he survives this is if he has a Copa Berry. Oh, there's the Copa Berry. I'm like, well, he clearly prepped properly. He knew that Zapdos was a problem.
Like, game 2, like, game 2, Vitor had a strategy to stop it. Like, he turned around and was like, okay, I'll set up the screen, again. I'll set up this, and Vitor was running through it. He's like, okay, I'm going to protect this turn, and then I'll be faster, and then I'll be able to hit it with this, and that should KO. Like, the strategy was there, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I saw Koba pop, I'm like, oh my gosh. Sfeel just had the answer to everything Vitor was trying to do.
Yep.
And it just blew him away. I mean, that game too, though, it did come down to the wire at the end. Vitor definitely clawed his way back. Those screens that he set up with Eliki came in huge.
At the end,
But it was just too much death early on Vitor's side of the field, and Ant-Man was able to just whittle down the remaining. And he got a burn on. That was the other thing is Dragapult didn't show burn until late. Like, it kept ally switching, it kept doing this and that, and then all of a sudden the Azumarill came out and maxed, and like it was like 2/3 of the way through game 2, and all of a sudden the Will-O-Wisp comes out, and it was just another one of those like, oh my gosh, Ant-Man has an answer for everything he wanted to do.
It's nice when those weeks happen. Man, like we were watching it and he just overgrowthed right into that Azumarill. I was just like, no crap given whatsoever. If this is Sap Sipper, I don't care. It's happening.
Nope. Yeah.
Because I called it. I'm like, oh, that was awfully ballsy. And it goes right in. It KOs him. Like, I guess it's not Sap Sipper. Just, like when it's things you have to consider. But I guess when you're just like, well, this is the only way I win this week, so let's go for it. Yeah. And it paid off. High risk, high reward. And, like Unsung Hero, that Mega Gardevoir, 3 KOs.
Yeah, no, it got, because it came in, it cleaned up game 1 and was the empty, was the MVP in game two. It did a lot of the whittling down and then allowed Dragapult, a very support Dragapult, to knock things out with Hex.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because Gardevoir weakened them in that mid, those middle turns. Gardevoir put in a lot of work this week, and I don't think, it wasn't the flashy one, because it wasn't it wasn't the beat up Gallade, and it didn't get the final kill in game two. But you're right, Gardevoir put in a lot of work.
Yeah, that thing's just so strong, and like it doesn't even need to max. So megas do have an impact. We do have a stat as well. We are following the megas impact on the league. I think Ant-Man definitely needed that, and I don't think that's the last of Vitor we've seen. So he might be a little upset for his next week's team. Who's he playing? I guess we'll find out. Actually, screw it. I'm finding out now. Who's he playing? I've got it
Seattle.
right here.
That should be a good one.
Ooh, poor Seattle. Poor Seattle. Speaking of Seattle, a real segue.
Hey,
No way.
You had to go out of order to do it, but yay!
It's a good thing we have so much information on this match. I am so happy that we know everything about this match that I watched last night. You were busy last night. You were at the Red Sox game, right? So you didn't really get a chance to watch it, but yeah, I stayed up for it. I thought it was awesome. It was I'll just kind of take over this one because you didn't really have a chance to watch it. But no, man, this was awesome. I feel like both teams really need wins. I know Seattle was kind of down after his last week's match, and LA had a really good showing in week 2. But just also, in the end, it doesn't matter how well you play. If you're 0-2, you really need that win, right? And
right.
And I feel like he grinded, he battled, but again, so much offense from that Charizard Venusaur. It's so hard to stop one of those premier opening strategies, and he just went with it. And I feel like he did well. Tornadus definitely had an answer with that rain dance, changing the weather, this and that. But I feel like Seattle did really, really well by putting Weather Ball on a couple of his mons.
Yes.
And you did have a chance to watch it. We just don't have any notes here, so we're just going by memory. But it was a very memorable match.
Yeah, no, I remember because I didn't get a chance to watch it until this morning, and the double Weather Ball between Venusaur and Charizard.
Very cool.
Was very cool. I mean, it made it, because that's the thing when you're running weather. If somebody changes the weather on you, it can completely change the game. With Weather Ball, you're like, okay, fine, change the weather on me. I'm still going to hit you hard. With no matter what you do here, you're going to get hit hard.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Charizard using Weather Ball, a lot of people when they were watching it live, they were just like, Weather Ball, why don't you just use a stab fire move in the sun, dude? Like, go for it. But the thing is, it is very unique, a fire Pokemon using Weather Ball in the sun, because it doubles in power, but you still get the stab boost. So you're using 100 base power single target stab move. I don't even know if Sun, I think Sun doubles it. I don't think it gets the sun boost from being fire. I think it already kind of does. I would have to look up that, but still 100 base power single target move from a special mon.
Yeah, no,
that's crazy.
Yeah, well, and you think of the risk reward. If you're sitting there with Heat Wave, if you're in the sun, you're thinking, okay, I could hit Heat Wave right here. I'm going to hit both of his Pokemon crazy hard in the sun. But what if he changes the weather on me here? And it's that what if that I think a lot of people get lost in. You're like, because you have to think, what is the worst thing that could happen here? You click Heat Wave and they turn on the rain. Suddenly that Heat Wave is not doing very much damage. And we talked about it earlier. It does, a third of the amount of damage as you thought it was going to. And Heat Wave being a spread move, that's just, I don't care how strong your Mega Charizard Y is, it's not going to be that strong in the rain.
No, exactly.
But if you click Weather Ball, you're like, okay, if he doesn't turn on the rain, then you're right. I have a 100 base power stab fire move going into something. Something's getting hit crazy hard. And if he turns on the rain with a prankster rain dance, now I have a 100 base power water move going into a Pokemon, which also is going to want to deal with that. So it was very smart by Seattle by recognizing what people were using against him and then using that back at them. I thought it was great.
I agree with that. I think it's just really, really good prep to kind of go to counter your counters. Yeah, I think it was a really good idea. But moving on to the longest match played, and it just so happens to be another game 3 for the distortion zone, and he makes my life very difficult recording stats. Thank you very much. But it was a good match. I feel like it was really good going back and forth. Both teams needed a win, both being 0-2 before the match started, and very unique match too. We saw Blast Burn on Blaziken. We saw a Max Sandslash. We saw an offensive Slowbro, a Regice with Charge Beam.
I think the Slowbro Dynamax too, which was not something you see every day.
Yes, it did. You don't see a whole lot of offensive Slowbro sets. You usually see a mix, like Trick Room, Protect. You don't usually see Protect on a Slowbro. Yeah. But its coverage is just so good. I thought it was a really good choice for Shadow to bring that. It was nice to also see something less used is a Hail Strat with Sandslash. That was really nice to see. Ninetales doing Ninetales-y things. It wasn't really anything out of the ordinary.
But then at the same time, Sapphire brought Sunny Day on Sableye to counter it. So it wasn't like, Shadow brought this great ice thing that Sapphire had no answer for. No, he had an answer for it, and I think that's partly why this game was so entertaining to watch, was because it was back and forth. And then Sableye setting up the Sun for Blaziken. It was just both of them had counters for counters for counters, and it was really entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm. And talking about Weather Ball on the other team as well in the last match, I feel like I don't know what gets it, but maybe Weather Ball on Lando or something like that might have been nice if it gets it. I'm pretty sure it does. I know Landorus I gets it. I don't know about Lando T. I don't know if their moveset changes really. That would have been really nice because with the Ice Core, it might have been nice to kind of see a Sunny Day Weather Ball strat as well, because it also hits the Sandslash incredibly hard as well, if you're expecting it. So I also didn't see any fire moves other than Mystical Fire on the Latias. So even just getting the boost from your weather would have been nice there. But it was really close. I think both teams could have won. Shadow definitely ended up getting the upper hand, winning 2-1. Game 1 going to... Oh, yeah, we had a forfeit. If you're listening, Kevs, just don't do that. Just finish it out. I know it sucks getting frozen, but just finish it out. It's not a rule. I don't want to make it a rule. Just don't. It's just
the biggest thing is
the stats, right? The
stats and the tiebreakers, really. Let's be honest. I don't know if we've gotten down to this, but kill death is a tiebreaker. And when you forfeit early, those are 2 kills that Shadow doesn't get.
And also another thing too is you gave him a 4-0 win when it could have been a 3-0. Right? You might have been able to KO another thing, and that 4-0 might give him an advantage. Don't get me wrong, he played well enough to win, and he, I feel like he earned his 4-0. He put him in a really bad spot. Yes, the freeze sucked, but I think it's just nice when everyone just finishes. I lost when it was my Obstagoon parting shotting and I had Choice Scarf. I wanted to quit too. I'm like, hey, and then when you switch, I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna come to Washington if you don't finish this battle right now. But no, we all want to finish, and it's really frustrating. Yeah, the first one.
Okay. That's the one you got 4-0'd, right?
Yeah, right? Game 2 went really, really well for Game 2 went really, really well for Kevs. I thought he adjusted really well. That KO on the Ninetales turn 1 was huge, and then Heracross just kind of took over. But I think in Game 3, Distortion Zone
going back to Game 2 though, like that charm on Latias. I remember we were talking afterwards, and that's not something you really expect to see.
No,
I definitely was not prepared for that. So, good prep there. That it really shut down anything that Sandslash was trying to do at that point.
Yo, that Sandslash got as low as -3, and it was maxed. It's just like, I don't need to attack that thing anymore. We're good.
Yeah,
that's low enough. No, I felt he played really well Game 2, and it was kind of just a slugfest in Game 3, just to kind of, it wasn't a very long Game 3, but those Game 3s are a lot of fun to watch, and you're kind of going back and forth, and I'm really invested in every player, so whenever I watch a Game 3 and a good tilt, I'm just kind of cheering for both sides. Unless you're Jay last week, then I'm not cheering for you at all.
Well, I mean, you didn't need to worry about the Game 3 because it was over so quickly in 2 games, so.
Yeah, I didn't lose Game 3.
You did not lose Game 3. That's an accurate statement.
Accurate statement. Okay, so that's it for the matches. The recaps. Great job, everybody, except the ones who lost. Shame on you.
Jay.
Yes. Nobody knows what Jay we're talking about. Probably the one that lost.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I think we both know which one we're talking about. So as we mentioned, we have one undefeated team remaining. Octo is the alone at the top. No tiebreakers needed, just flat out wins. So good on him. Very good season so far. Unfortunately, we have 3 winless teams this season. Cyanwood, Cyanwood, Sapphire, Salamence, and the LA Linoons. I got the gamer tags here, and I'm just like, what's their team name again?
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, we got 9 2-1 teams, and we had something like that last
absurd.
season with 5-3 teams at the very end. So we'll see how the schedule lines up at the end of the season. But moving on to the previews for next week, we got Great Marsh versus Space City and Sean Connery.
Yes.
Yeah, Great Marsh versus Space. Both teams actually got a loss last week, so I think they're both a little hungry right now.
You mean they both want to bounce back?
Jay, that was so week 2.
Oh, sorry.
I'm glad you referenced it because we got to keep doing that. Yeah, you know what? I feel like both teams felt like they had a better shot at winning than what the outcome showed. So I'm looking for those two. That's probably the most exciting match I've seen on this list that I'm looking forward to. Both very good players, both have a little bit of pedigree, and both are killing for a win right now.
Yeah,
so,
both coming off very close. They both got 2-0'd last week, but they were very close matches, I think. Well, I guess.
Well, no, Great Marsh kind of got dusted.
Which I think is just gonna. Great Marsh is the kind of guy he's gonna look at that and be like, wow, I need to come back and make a splash here. And Space City obviously is hungry after this last week. So
to be so close yet so far after losing by like 10% health, right? That just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Great Marsh, I think the key to victory for Great Marsh is to drop out of school. I think that's clearly the obvious decision here. So hopefully you can put it together and win in week 4. Wouldn't you say, Jay?
That's right. They actually have. Looking back in past matchups, these two have played each other, but not since season 1. It's been a long, long time since they've actually faced each other, which is pretty crazy.
And I think both of them are like,
both are very, very different players, I imagine, since season 1. So,
well, here's the thing: Space has a very fast offensive team, and I don't mean fast in speed. I mean you get KO'd quick. Great Marsh requires a little bit more setup, but is also very sneaky. So
right.
I don't know if he. Oh yeah, we also got free agents too that we got to go over. I almost forgot. We didn't have any this one, but just thinking out loud, recording on the podcast, my thoughts.
Yes.
I'll stop doing that. But yeah, like I think both of them are just like, I don't want to face him. I'm glad he's not on my schedule. I'm glad he's not on my schedule. I'm glad he's not. And then this week they're just like, damn it. But
yes.
no, I think everybody really needs to tune in for that one. I think that one's going to be really good. I really do. The next match we've got is Vitor, so Sao Paulo Excadrilles versus the Seattle Sigilift. Actually, sorry, correction. The matchup is Sao Paulo Excadrilles versus the Seattle Sigilists because I wrote it in all caps for some reason.
Because he loves Vitor way more than everybody else, apparently.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I rigged the championship every single year to have him in it. No, Vitor. Remember when I said I wouldn't want to be facing Vitor this week? Well, Seattle's got the honors.
Got the honors there.
But Seattle played really well last week. So I think this is going to be a good matchup too. I really do.
I do too. I think another weather war coming up.
Oh yeah, Sand
Fire
versus
Sand. I think so. It's going to be really interesting to see how Seattle combats Vitor's ability to also change the weather. Not sure I'd say at will, but very much so. And then obviously, Mega Charizard Y does not like to see rock moves, and I can tell you Vitor has a lot of rock moves on it too. So it'll be very interesting to see how he overcomes that. Seattle was definitely the guy this last week that you didn't want to face because of how bad week 2 went for him. And you saw what he did. He came back and just obliterated.
Totally bounced back.
Jay, that was totally week 2.
Was it?
That was so week 2.
Oh shoot! Start a counter, Jay. Start a counter, future Jay. Start a counter. Yeah, that one's
We're
gonna
just
be
gonna
good
have
too.
we're gonna have like 17 counters on the screen for various different things.
Yeah. So the key to victory for this, I think both players need to drop out of school, and then
Right.
both players can definitely focus more on their match.
They need to
And
focus on their WPL careers.
yeah, obviously, you got endorsement deals, and you got a pet Pokemon for you. So Cyanwood Cyndaquils versus Sapphire Salamence. So I think this one's really good too, just because we've got two winless teams right now going against each other. Sapphire made a move for Gengar for Aerodactyl, and yeah, I think that was a good move. I think it gave him a little bit of offense that he needed on the special side. I think he's one move away, just one away from having a very, very solid complete roster. And Cyanwood also played really well last week. So that's a good one too. Very exciting. Drop out of school, all that fun stuff. Linoons versus, yeah, I think we can run through these last ones pretty quickly. It's just previews. We don't know what's going to happen. Whenever I predict something, nothing happens.
Goes the other way.
It goes the opposite way because people are like, oh, Jay said that. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not gonna bring that. Then I'm gonna tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him why he's wrong in group chat. LA Linoons versus Fielavory Calcos. I don't really have a...
Spiel came out. I don't really have a lot to say. Spiel came out and showed why he's made the playoffs last year. He's a strong
team.
competitor in this league, and he has a very good team. And yeah, it's he showed what happens when you back him. Put his back up against the wall. Linoons has been in pretty much every one of his matches this season. He's 0-3, but it's not a resounding 0-3 by any stretch. He's put in some quality matches against some quality opponents. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pick up a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's gonna be good too. I think, like you said, Linoons has been in every single game. So, but moving on to probably the highest profile match of the week, we have probably one of the more like repeat. These guys play each other a lot. Spider Phantom Troop Octo versus Dublin Delmise. And yes, Jay, we're going to call this the game of
the game of the week.
Game of the week. No, this is going to be game of the week because here's why. 3-0 versus 2-1. So first seed versus one seed, one of the 2-1s. Octo has
anywhere from 2 to 9.
Anyway, somewhere from 2 to 9, I guess. Octo's got the 2-1 advantage. They've played 3 times. 3 times. He's won. Yep. He owns the regular season, and so far, Dublin, small sample size, has won the playoffs. So, according to statistics, Octo should win and face them in the playoffs and lose.
That's right. I mean,
statistics.
That's right. Perfectly good size sample size there. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think this is going to be. This is both teams. I think have a history of bringing not exactly conventional teams, and they always throw something crazy at you. So the fact that they're throwing crazy things at each other, I think, is going to make this super, super entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and the fact that they're close together in time zones is actually kind of nice. That because I know that Octo moved out to the Netherlands this year, so he's actually a lot closer to his time zone fellow. I think it's only a couple hours different, so that's kind of nice.
This game's going to take place at like 3 a.m. my time.
It's also going to be the longest match we will ever see. I may set a timer. Sorry, you guys take forever to choose your moves, just saying.
Yeah, it's going to start at 3 a.m. my time, but I'll still be able to watch it when I get up at 7.
Yeah.
That's the tail end of it.
Over under on time of match. No, but I think they both really want to win, and it just kind of shows how badly they want to win. But next match, Cascade Illusions versus Florida for Alligators. I don't know who wants to see who in this matchup because Florida made a couple of moves, didn't he? He grabbed Sneasel for Gothitelle, and he grabbed Arcanine for his Dragonite. So now
some big moves there.
Yeah, those were really, really big moves because it added a couple of modes. It added Intimidate. It added a beat-up strategy, like we saw how strong it was. And we also have a different way of activating that policy on the Colossal, so that was really cool.
I think I usually do a little bit of thought over the weekend, just trying to think of kind of what Pokemon I have that look good against, my opponent. Not really doing a lot of testing, but just kind of quickly thinking, and I had to throw pretty much all of that out the window when I saw the free agent moves. So yeah, definitely a different team to face, and a very scary team to face.
Yeah, I think also you played really well this week too. You won in prep pretty much, so I think he's probably going to be afraid of what you're going to bring. So like your prep has been really good since week 2, I guess. So week 2 and 3 you prepped really really well. Week 1 was just fresh.
That's what happens when you get.
Right?
That's what happens when you get really out prepped in a week like I did.
Exactly. You can two extremes, right? Because like you have a guy out prep you and he just wins and you feel like you have no hope, right? You're just like, oh wow, there's nothing I can do against this.
I know, that's exactly. I mean, I know how you feel, because obviously this happened to you this last week. And
well, I was going to say, how did you know what match I was referencing?
Were we talking about I don't remember that.
Oh God, we got
short-term memory. Short-term memory. Jokes.
I'm glad we don't face each other again. I won't have to face you in the playoffs either because you won't make it.
I'm a little sad that I won't make it. Who's above you in the standings? Clearly,
yes, you do.
I'm far superior than you this week or this season.
You know what's funny? If I didn't let you get that 4-0, I'd be ahead of you right now.
I don't.
If it was a 3-0, I think I'm ahead of you right now.
I don't really know.
Yeah, you earned it. The last 2 matches we've got Kyogre Canucks versus Distortion Zone, and then me versus Texas. Toronto 6 versus Texas. Kyogre versus Distortion. I think they're both not 100% happy with how their seasons have gone so far. And I think that they're both hungry for a win. I'm going to use that again. Distortion got his first taste of winning last week, so maybe he's a little more encouraged now. And Kyogre is probably not feeling the best right now. Obviously, we said 1 and 2 doesn't mean you're out, but I think it definitely means you definitely need to win in week 4 so you can kind of split the first half of the season 2-2 and then make a strong push to the end. And Distortion's in the same boat. But he definitely made a couple of moves. He swapped his Mega, which kind of surprised a lot of guys.
It's crazy. Yeah, there was a good discussion going on about that one.
It makes sense. I get it because it kind of really helps out his Lando Eye with the Sand Force, and it also gives you some weather control against one of your future opponents, which I think he does play Seattle.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, in one thing that pointed out in the chat was Salamence and Lando being 2 of his big hitters, both being 4 times a week to ice was really handcuffed what he could do if he we saw in this last week he brought them both to the match and they were kind of shut down by a P2. And I mean, not that P2's bad, but like when 2 of your biggest hitters are shut down by a defensive mon, that really kind of puts your team into perspective. And Kyogre said it was time for a change.
Yeah, I thought it was an all right move too. It's a risky, high risk, high reward move, but I think T-Tar can do a lot of things. We're seeing T-Tar do great things for Vitor this season so far. So hopefully the Mega translates to that. It was actually really sought after in draft prep, and I'm surprised nobody grabbed it. So it's nice to see it find a home on Kyogre's team. We also saw a trade as well. He acquired Galvantula for his Dugtrio that wasn't getting a whole lot of use on his current team. So hopefully Texas finds better use of it in week 5. That would be really nice.
Why not week 4, Jay?
Why not week 4? I don't know. Bring it. See what happens. But yeah, Kyogre's got the edge. So far, he's won in season 3. They faced each other 1 week, and Kyogre got the edge that week. So not a big sample size for matchup history, but it's going to be a good one. Going to be a good one. Not a very good one is the Toronto 6 versus the Texas Land Sharks, as we just mentioned, acquiring the Dugtrio for the Galvantula, as we just mentioned. And I also made a trade as the Toronto 6. I dropped Obstagoon and grabbed a Ribombee.
Nice. Yes, I think.
What do you think?
You're struggling over that. No, I think that's a solid pickup for you. I think it does some cool things with your team. I'm not going to go into them here for your own sake, but no, I think both of those are. I think the one that actually does puzzle me a little bit is Texas's trade getting Doug Trio for Galvantula. I know Galvantula is one of the better D tiers, I think.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine that Texas has plans for that Doug Trio. So I'll be excited to see what he does with that.
Yeah, same. I think Doug Trio was a staple in Gen 1 and then really hasn't seen a whole lot of anything since. So in a draft league, I think it's definitely where it can shine. I know the arena trap ability can be devastating when your plan is pivoting. So I guess against a team that has like Shadow Tag and Arena Trap, stuff like that, it's kind of hard to get around. So that might be what he has in store. But it also does some other things as well. But that ends off our previews. Not a lot of information because pretty much everything we predict doesn't happen. I think that's just safe to say. So, but explaining the history between the two matches, what to expect, and things like that, like, that I don't think we can really expect anything in Draft League as we've seen so far.
I mean, teams change so much every year, every season anyway. So
exactly, the playing style changes and things like that. But let's get into our pick'ems before we actually end off the podcast. We'll end a little bit early today if it has been early. Yeah, we're a little early today, but at the same time, I feel like we can end off here. We'll leave the WPL Academy. We do have something in store for you guys that's actually going to be cool, but based on schedules and things like that, we haven't had a lot of time to kind of get to. We don't want to just wing it like we do every week. We want to put in some serious thought
some effort,
in teaching y'all how to be 2-1 teams like us, right, Jay?
That's right. The pinnacle of what you should be striving for.
Yeah, you should totally try to be 2-1 like us. Yep. Here's how you do it. But last week we picked ourselves for the pick'ems, the survival style, but not really.
One of us clearly was on the upper hand of that.
One of us really sucks at this segment.
Yeah. I was just gonna let you keep going with your all your predictions are false, because I've picked all my picks right so far. So.
You know what you should do is just like, hey Jay, what do you want to pick? It's like, I think that Texas Land Sharks has a great shot this week. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna pick whoever he's playing because I know that you're gonna pick the wrong one, Jay. But that being said, just for my mental state, I am choosing my opponent this week to beat me. That way, it's a win-win. If I win the game myself.
You're trying to reverse psychology karma here. So
honestly, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just want to get a win this week. That'd be kind of nice because
whether it's pick'ems or in your match, you're gonna win.
High risk, high reward, brother. Because I'm down 3-1, so I gotta get the next 5 weeks right to really stand a chance, and hopefully you only get one or less. So.
No, yeah, and then I'm gonna pick Space City this week. Space City's been on quite a roll. He did drop this last week, but we talked about how close that match was, and he lost by, like I said, a total of like 15% health on a couple of Pokemon. So very close loss. Going up against Great Marsh Gastronauts, by the way, who
may or may not drop out of school.
Hasn't seemed to be himself this season. I mean, he's definitely not out of it with 1 and 2, but just watching the matches, last week was a rough one for him. I definitely would love to see him
bounce back
to return to form. And if that is, I think if he does, I think it'll be a really, really quality match. But I'm gonna give the slight edge to Space this week.
Yeah, like I think that's a good point as well. Like I think, but again, you haven't considered him dropping out of school like he's about to,
true.
Right? So if he does, I think he'll have.
If he
a
does,
lot
then
more of a chance.
I'm gonna have to change my pick.
Well, that's insider information, and polls are closed. You can't change your mind now. So good luck to my opponent this week. I didn't rip into his team this week. What a terrible team. That kind of thing. Yeah. I hope you win so I can win my pick'ems. I hope you lose so I can be 3-1.
Right.
Yep.
It's a win-win, right? Or is it a lose-lose? Is it a win-win or a lose-lose? I don't know.
Oh, I hope it's not a lose-lose. Well, it actually can't be a lose-lose, so that would be really unfortunate. Like I don't play my match and I get a forfeit, and anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. But I guess that's it for us, guys. We got a nice early exit today. So everybody listening right now that wants more, well, you can wait another week.
That's right. And I think it's short because Jay just didn't really want to talk about this week for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
this
never
is
know.
not an enjoyable podcast so far. I might quit in week 3 and not do this anymore. Next week's
right.
this is the Tevis podcast.
Yeah.
We're not going to acknowledge why I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
I must have pissed him off. See you next week. No,
USA, USA,
that's cheered enough. That's definitely cheered enough. Congratulations, Jay. I know
Yes,
how to
thank
take
you,
my
thank you.
my lashings when I deserve them, and good for you. Hopefully you can build on it for the rest of the season. Hopefully I can bounce back. Peace, y'all. Have a great week. See
Bye,
you in a week.
guys. Later.
Stronger, yeah, I'm building